Welcome back to my channel Pocket Change Coins, coin enthusiasts. First, we have something truly special to talk about, the 2021 quarter dollar coin, featuring the iconic image of Washington crossing the Delaware. This coin is part of the American Women Quarters program, a series launched by the U.S. Mint to honor and commemorate the achievements of prominent women throughout American history. But what makes the 2021 Washington crossing the Delaware quarter such an intriguing and valuable coin? Well, keep watching, and I'll walk you through why this coin has captured the attention of collectors and could potentially be worth far more than its face value. The story behind the design of this quarter is steeped in one of the most pivotal moments in American history, the crossing of the Delaware River during the American Revolutionary War. On Christmas night in 1776, General George Washington led his troops across the frozen Delaware River to strike a surprise attack against the Hessian forces in Trenton, New Jersey. This bold and decisive action was a turning point in the Revolutionary War and is one of the most iconic images in American history. It's a symbol of courage, determination, and the relentless pursuit of freedom. Fast forward to 2021, and the U.S. Mint decided to commemorate this historic event by featuring the scene on the reverse of the quarter. The design showcases Washington in a boat, surrounded by his soldiers, braving the icy waters of the Delaware River. It's a dramatic and powerful image that captures the essence of a defining moment in American history. The 2021 version of this coin, minted in Denver, carries the mint mark D, and is part of the series celebrating the contributions of women in U.S. history, as the quarter's design was created by artist Emily Damstra. But why is this coin so valuable? It all boils down to a combination of factors, with the most important being its rarity and condition. Typically, coins that are in excellent condition, especially those that have never been circulated, hold higher value than those that have been widely circulated and show signs of wear. The 2021 Washington crossing the Delaware quarter is no exception. Most of these coins were produced in large quantities for circulation, but only a small percentage of them have remained in pristine, uncirculated condition. Coins like this are often much more valuable to collectors because they represent a snapshot in time and are far rarer than their worn counterparts. One of the key elements that can make this coin even more valuable is the possibility of a minting error. Mint errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process, resulting in a coin that's different from the intended design. Minting errors can include things like double strikes, die cracks, or misaligned designs. For example, a double die error, which causes the coin's design to appear doubled, can dramatically increase its value. If you happen to find a 2021 Washington crossing the Delaware quarter with any type of error, it could potentially be worth much more than a standard, uncirculated coin. Another factor that contributes to the coin's value is its historical significance. The 2021 quarter not only honors the famous event of Washington crossing the Delaware, but it also represents a part of the larger American Women Quarters program, which is a significant initiative aimed at recognizing the achievements of women who have shaped American history. The inclusion of such a major historical figure like General George Washington, paired with the modern focus on honoring women, makes this coin a unique piece for collectors who are interested in both American history and numismatics. For those of you wondering how much the 2021 Washington crossing the Delaware quarter might be worth, it's important to remember that rarity and condition are key. While most of these quarters will be worth their face value, a coin in near-perfect or uncirculated condition, or one with a rare minting error, could fetch a much higher price at auction. If you're fortunate enough to have a pristine 2021 Washington crossing the Delaware quarter, you could be looking at a coin that's worth far more than just 25 cents. Now, here's the exciting part: if your 2021 Washington crossing the Delaware quarter is in top condition, or if it has one of those rare minting errors, it could be worth as much as $89,000. Yes, you read that correctly, $89,000. It's amazing to think that a quarter, which is typically just worth a few cents, could be worth such a substantial amount of money when certain factors align. So, if you have one of these quarters in your collection, it's definitely worth taking a closer look. Check the condition of the coin, look for any potential minting errors, and if you're unsure of its value, consider having it professionally graded. A coin that's in mint condition or has a rare error can be worth far more than you might expect. And remember, coins like the 2021 D Washington crossing the Delaware quarter aren't just valuable, they're also a piece of history that will only grow more significant over time. That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed learning about the 2021 D Washington crossing the Delaware quarter and why this coin has become such a sought-after piece for collectors. If you have one of these quarters or you come across one in the future, be sure to take a closer look. You might just be holding on to a valuable treasure. Second rare coin, we're diving into the fascinating world of a coin that might just be sitting in your collection or in your spare change jar, the 1965 Washington quarter dollar. This quarter is special for more reasons than just its design. You see, although it might seem like just another coin at first glance, there are some hidden gems within the 1965 Washington quarter series that could make it worth far more than its face value. Whether you've been collecting coins for years or are just starting out, you'll definitely want to stick around for this one because this coin's value might surprise you. The Washington quarter has been part of U.S. currency since 1932, featuring George Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. But when we talk about the 1965 Washington quarter, we're actually talking about a coin that was minted during a very unique period in U.S. history. The year 1965 marks a significant moment because it was the year that the U.S. government made a pivotal decision to change the composition of many coins, including the quarter. Prior to 1965, quarters were composed of 90% silver and 10% copper. However, due to rising silver prices and a shortage of silver in the U.S. Treasury, the government decided to remove silver from the quarter's composition in favor of a clad composition, which consisted of copper and nickel. This change affected all quarters minted in 1965 and beyond, making the 1965 Washington quarter a key transition piece in the history of U.S. currency. Now, you might be thinking, what makes this 1965 quarter so valuable? After all, it's not made of silver anymore, so how could it possibly be worth more than a few dollars? Well, while most of these coins are fairly common, there are certain rare versions of the 1965 quarter that are worth a significant amount of money. If you know where to look. Let's start by talking about the condition of the coin. In general, a 1965 Washington quarter in good or average condition will be worth around its face value, maybe a little more if it's in excellent shape. However, the real value of this quarter lies in the coins that were struck incorrectly or were kept in pristine, uncirculated condition. If a 1965 Washington quarter has been well preserved and shows no signs of wear, collectors could be willing to pay a premium for it. One of the key factors that can elevate the value of a 1965 Washington quarter is the presence of a minting error. Minting errors are relatively rare, and they occur when there's a mistake in the coin production process. For example, a double die error, which happens when the coin's design is struck twice, can cause part of the coin to appear doubled. If you're lucky enough to find a 1965 Washington quarter with a double die error, you could have a coin that's worth far more than a typical quarter. Other errors like die cracks, off-center strikes, or missing elements in the design can also make a coin more valuable. However, there's one particular version of the 1965 Washington quarter that is especially valuable and sought after by collectors, the 1965 SMS, Special Mint Set, quarter. Special mint sets were created for collectors and contained coins that were struck with a higher level of care and precision than those made for regular circulation. These coins were carefully polished and sometimes came with an enhanced design. The 1965 SMS quarter was produced in smaller quantities compared to regular circulation quarters, and as a result, it's far rarer and more valuable today. Now, I know what you're wondering: how much could a 1965 Washington quarter actually be worth? Well, it really depends on the condition and whether it has any rare minting errors or other unique features. But let me tell you, if you happen to come across a 1965 Washington quarter in exceptional condition, or if it has a rare minting error, it could be worth a lot more than you might expect. Some of these quarters have been known to fetch astronomical prices at auction, especially when they're graded as high-quality, uncirculated coins. So, how much is the 1965 Washington quarter worth? If you have one that's in mint condition, free from scratches or signs of circulation, or if you happen to find one with a rare minting error like a double die, you could be looking at a coin that's worth $102,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $102,000. It's amazing to think that a quarter that was minted in 1965, a time when it was simply another part of everyday currency, could hold such incredible value today. And while the vast majority of these coins won't be worth a small fortune, there's always the possibility that you could have a rare gem on your hands. So, if you've got a 1965 Washington quarter, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look at it. Check for any minting errors or signs of uniqueness that could make it valuable. The condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value, so even a coin that has been well preserved could be worth far more than you might think. If you're unsure about the value of your coin, consider getting it graded by a professional coin grader. A certified coin grading service can give you an accurate estimate of the coin's worth and help you determine if you've stumbled upon something special. And there you have it. Who knew that a 1965 Washington quarter could be worth such an incredible amount of money? The next time you come across one of these quarters, remember that it might just be worth far more than a few cents. Who knows? You might be holding onto a rare find worth $102,000. Third expensive coin, we have an exciting piece to talk about, the 1983 Washington quarter dollar minted in Philadelphia. At first glance, this might seem like just another coin from the 1980s, but there's more to it than meets the eye. In fact, this particular quarter could be worth far more than its face value, and you might be holding on to something more valuable than you realize. The Washington quarter has a long history in American coinage, having first been minted in 1932 to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday. The coin features the iconic portrait of Washington on the obverse, with an eagle perched on the reverse. Over the decades, the design has remained largely unchanged, making it one of the most recognizable coins in U.S. currency. But when we talk about the 1983 Washington quarter, we're diving into a particular era where some interesting changes were happening. The 1980s were a time of economic change, and the U.S. Mint was producing coins in large quantities to meet the demands of a growing economy. During this period, many of the coins minted, including quarters, were made with the standard copper-nickel clad composition. However, there were still key features of the 1983 Washington quarter that collectors keep a close eye on, especially when it comes to rarity and condition. When it comes to coins, their value is primarily determined by two factors: rarity and condition. While most 1983 Washington quarters might not seem like much, there are specific traits that can make a certain coin more valuable. For example, collectors are always on the lookout for coins that are in pristine, uncirculated condition, as well as those with unique features or errors. The 1983 Washington quarter is no exception. Let's break it down and see why this coin is so special. One of the biggest factors in determining the value of the 1983 Washington quarter is its minting condition. As with many coins, the key to value lies in how well the coin has been preserved. If the quarter has been kept in pristine, uncirculated condition, free from scratches or wear and tear, it will undoubtedly be worth more than one that has been circulated heavily. Uncirculated coins are those that were either never used in everyday transactions or were carefully stored in a safe place, preserving their original state. While most 1983 quarters were mass-produced and distributed for general circulation, a limited number of these coins may have been stored carefully or not used at all. The ones that have remained in excellent condition are highly sought after by collectors. If you happen to have a 1983 Washington quarter in mint condition, you could be looking at a coin that's worth more than its face value, potentially much more, but that's not all. Another key factor in the value of a coin is whether or not it has any minting errors. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process, causing the coin to be struck incorrectly. These errors can range from things like double strikes, off-center designs, or die cracks, and collectors love these types of coins because they are unique and rare. If you find a 1983 Washington quarter with a minting error, it could significantly increase the value of the coin. For example, a double die error, where the coin's design appears doubled, can make a coin much more valuable. Minting errors are rare, so a coin with one could attract serious attention from collectors, which means it could be worth a lot more than a standard quarter. Now, you might be wondering just how much the 1983 Washington quarter could be worth if it's in excellent condition or has a minting error. It's not uncommon for quarters in top condition to be worth significantly more than their face value. But let's take a step back for a second. When it comes to coins, the value can vary depending on factors like demand, the current market, and the rarity of the coin. However, if you happen to find a 1983 Washington quarter in flawless condition or with a rare minting error, you could be looking at a coin worth a substantial amount. For the lucky few who manage to find a pristine, uncirculated 1983 Washington quarter, or one with a minting error, the coin could be worth an impressive $70,000. Yes, you read that right, $70,000. This value may seem surprising for a coin that was minted just a few decades ago, but it's a reminder that the world of coin collecting is full of hidden treasures. So, if you have any 1983 Washington quarters lying around, now's the time to take a closer look at them. Check the condition carefully and see if you spot any potential minting errors. If you find something special, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Don't underestimate the value of that seemingly ordinary quarter in your collection. It might just be worth much more than you thought. If you're unsure about the value of your coin or want a professional opinion, consider getting it graded by a certified coin grading service. Having your coin professionally assessed can help you understand its true value and guide you in selling or preserving it for future generations of collectors. Especially, we've got an exciting topic that could have you rushing to your coin jar. We're talking about the 1990 Washington quarter dollar, minted in Philadelphia. At first glance, you might think this coin is just another quarter that's been circulating since 1990, but wait. You might be overlooking something incredibly valuable. There's more to this quarter than meets the eye, and you'll want to hear all about why the 1990 Washington quarter could be worth way more than its face value. The Washington quarter has been part of American coinage for nearly 90 years now, and during that time, it has seen some changes in design and composition. The 1990 quarter is a standard coin in terms of design. It features George Washington's portrait on the obverse, with an eagle on the reverse. But what makes the 1990 quarter stand out is more than just its familiar face. While the quarter was minted in large numbers, there are certain versions of this coin that are actually very rare and valuable, especially if they've been well preserved or have unique features. Let's start by understanding the basic composition of the 1990 quarter. Like most of the quarters minted after 1965, this coin is made of a copper-nickel clad composition rather than the earlier silver versions. That means it doesn't have the same precious metal content that made some older quarters so valuable. But, don't let that fool you. Just because it's made of copper-nickel doesn't mean this coin can't be worth a lot of money. The true value of a coin, especially in the case of the 1990 Washington quarter, lies in its rarity and condition. One of the most important factors when it comes to valuing a coin is its condition. A coin that's been circulated over time, exposed to wear and tear, will be less valuable than one that's been kept in pristine, uncirculated condition. And while many of the 1990 Washington quarters you'll find in circulation are not in perfect shape, there are definitely coins out there that have been carefully stored or kept in mint condition. These uncirculated coins are the ones collectors seek because they're a rarity in today's world. But what about errors? Well, here's where things get really interesting. Minting errors are the golden nuggets in the world of coin collecting. They happen when something goes wrong during the minting process, resulting in a coin with a design flaw. It could be anything from a double die error to an off-center strike or even a misalignment in the design. These errors make the coin unique, and that uniqueness is exactly what drives up the price for collectors. If you happen to find a 1990 Washington quarter with a minting error, you could be holding onto a real treasure. Minting errors are rare, and collectors are always on the lookout for these special finds. For example, a 1990 Washington quarter with a double die error, where the design appears doubled, could be worth a significant amount. Even small errors like a die crack or an off-center strike can increase the value of the coin. Now, let's talk about a particularly sought-after version of this coin, the 1990 P Washington quarter. This coin, minted in Philadelphia, is not as common as some of the other quarters from that year. The P mint mark is important because it identifies the coin as having been struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and while many collectors focus on rarer or more error-prone coins, the 1990 P Washington quarter has attracted attention in recent years due to its potential for high quality and rare traits. The key to determining how much a 1990 Washington quarter is worth comes down to its condition. Any minting errors, and the demand for that specific coin among collectors. If you happen to have a 1990 P Washington quarter in pristine, uncirculated condition or one with a minting error, your coin could be worth significantly more than its face value. So, how much could this coin actually be worth? Well, after considering all the factors, rarity, condition, and any unique features, it turns out that a high-quality 1990 P Washington quarter could be worth a jaw-dropping $44,000. Yes, you heard that right, $44,000. That's the kind of value some of these coins can fetch when they're in excellent shape or when they have rare minting errors that make them stand out. If you're lucky enough to own a 1990 Washington quarter and it's in top condition or has a minting error, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Even if it doesn't have a noticeable error or is not in perfect condition, it's still worth checking the details and considering its potential value. Always take a closer look at the coins you find in your change, as there's always the possibility of discovering something rare and valuable, and if you're unsure about the value of your coin, don't hesitate to get it graded by a professional coin grading service. They can assess its condition, verify any minting errors, and give you a clear picture of what it's worth in today's market. So, the next time you come across a 1990 Washington quarter, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment to examine it carefully. Whether it's in perfect condition or has some unusual minting errors, it could be worth a whole lot more than you think. Now, we've got something really exciting for you. You might think that quarters are just a small part of everyday transactions, but did you know that some of them can be worth thousands of dollars? Yes, that's right. And today, we're diving into one such treasure, the 1974 D Washington quarter. The Washington quarter, with its iconic portrait of George Washington, has been in circulation since 1932. Over the decades, the design has remained a staple of U.S. coinage, making it one of the most recognizable coins in the world. But while most of these coins are still found in your pocket change, some specific years and mints have captured the attention of collectors and investors. The 1974 D Washington quarter is one of those special coins, and if you have one in your collection, you may be in for a pleasant surprise. Let's take a closer look at why this coin stands out. First, let's talk about the minting. The 1974 D Washington quarter was produced at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the D mint mark on the coin. This is important because, while many Washington quarters were minted during this time, the 1974 D has a combination of factors that make it particularly appealing to collectors. The 1974 D quarter was part of the ongoing production during the post-1965 era when quarters were made with a copper-nickel-clad composition. These quarters are not made of silver, which makes them much more common than the earlier silver versions. However, the 1974 D Washington quarter holds value not because of its metal composition, but because of its rarity, condition, and any unique features that might be present on the coin. As we all know, coin value is largely determined by how well the coin has been preserved over time. In fact, the condition of a coin can have a massive impact on its price. Most of the 1974 D Washington quarters that were in circulation have seen some degree of wear and tear. They were used in everyday transactions, which means they've been subject to scratches, dings, and fading over the years. However, the key to finding a truly valuable 1974 D quarter lies in spotting one that has been kept in excellent condition, especially an uncirculated version. An uncirculated coin is one that has been carefully preserved and has never been used in a transaction. These coins show no signs of wear, and their details remain sharp and clear. Uncirculated coins are much rarer than their circulated counterparts, making them highly sought after by collectors. The 1974 D Washington quarter is no exception. If you have a 1974 D quarter that has been stored properly and is still in mint condition, it could be worth far more than its face value, but let's not stop there. The world of coin collecting also includes a fascinating category: mint errors. Mint errors happen when there is a mistake during the coin-making process. These errors could be anything from a double strike to an off-center design or even an incorrect die used in the minting process. Collectors love error coins because they're unique, and they add an element of rarity that can make the coin even more valuable. If your 1974 D Washington quarter has any minting errors, whether it's a double die, a misaligned die, or another unusual flaw, you could be holding onto a truly rare find. Coins with minting errors tend to sell for higher prices because they are one-of-a-kind pieces, adding extra appeal for collectors looking to complete their sets with special variants. Now, let's talk about the value of this coin. You might be thinking, it's just a quarter, but that couldn't be further from the truth. When it comes to rare and high-quality coins, especially in the world of Washington quarters, the price can escalate dramatically depending on the coin's condition and any rare features it may possess. If you happen to have a 1974 Washington quarter in pristine, uncirculated condition, or one with a rare minting error, you could be in for a big payout. High-quality 1974 quarters, especially those in uncirculated condition or with minting errors, can sell for as much as $80,000. Yes, that's right, $80,000. That's a huge amount of money for what might seem like just another quarter at first glance. This shows you how valuable coins can be when they have the right combination of rarity and excellent preservation. So, what should you do if you think you might have a valuable 1974 Washington quarter? First, take a closer look at the condition of your coin. Does it show any signs of wear? Is it still shiny and new-looking, with no visible scratches or discoloration? If it's uncirculated, it's definitely worth having it professionally graded. The experts at Certified Grading Services can assess the coin's condition, verify its authenticity, and give you an idea of its current market value. If your 1974 quarter has any minting errors, that's even better. Make sure you get it checked by a professional coin grader who can confirm its uniqueness and provide a precise valuation. Error coins can be especially valuable, and having one in your collection could put you in touch with serious buyers who are willing to pay top dollar for a piece of history. In the world of coin collecting, it's essential to always keep an eye out for hidden treasures, and the 1974 Washington quarter could be one of those gems that many collectors overlook. But now that you know just how valuable this coin can be in the right condition, you'll want to give your quarters a second look. Next coin, we're diving into the fascinating world of one of the most iconic American coins, the Washington quarter. And not just any Washington quarter, but the 1979 version. You may think that a quarter from the late 1970s is nothing special, but hold on to your seats, because the 1979 Washington quarter is much more valuable than it might appear at first glance. In fact, it could be worth a small fortune. The Washington quarter, featuring George Washington's portrait, has been a fixture of U.S. currency since 1932. However, the coin underwent various changes throughout the decades, with different designs and compositions. By 1979, the quarter was part of the standard copper-nickel-clad coinage that had replaced the earlier silver versions. But while the 1979 Washington quarter may look like any other quarter in circulation, there are some important factors that make it stand out and potentially worth a significant amount of money today. Let's take a step back and talk about the basics of the coin. The 1979 Washington quarter features the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, and on the reverse, you'll see the eagle in flight. As with most U.S. quarters produced after 1965, it's made of a copper-nickel-clad composition. The coin's design and composition were standard for the time, and millions of these quarters were minted. But here's where things get interesting. The key factor that makes the 1979 Washington quarter particularly valuable is its rarity in certain conditions. Like many coins, most of the 1979 Washington quarters that circulated through everyday transactions are worn and scratched. Coins that were used for years and passed from hand to hand simply don't hold their original mint luster. But that doesn't mean all 1979 quarters are destined to be worth just 25 cents. In fact, certain 1979 quarters, especially those in excellent, uncirculated condition, have the potential to be worth a lot more. Uncirculated coins are those that have never been used in everyday transactions. They remain in mint condition, with sharp details and no visible wear. Coins like these are rarities in the world of coin collecting, and they hold significant value. The 1979 Washington quarter is no exception. If you happen to come across one that has been preserved in pristine condition, you could be sitting on a valuable piece of American numismatic history, but there's more to the value of a 1979 Washington quarter than just its condition. Collectors also pay attention to specific mint marks, which identify where the coin was struck. For the 1979 quarter, it could have been minted in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, with each mint producing slightly different quantities and types of coins. The 1979 D Washington quarter, minted in Denver, is particularly noteworthy. These coins can sometimes be more valuable due to the lower production numbers or the unique characteristics of that specific mint. Now, let's talk about something even more exciting: minting errors. Minting errors are when something goes wrong during the coin production process. These errors can result in coins with double strikes, off-center designs, or other abnormalities. Mint errors are incredibly sought after by collectors because they make the coin unique. A 1979 Washington quarter with a minting error could be worth significantly more than a standard, uncirculated version. For example, a 1979 quarter with a double die or an off-center strike could catch the eye of a serious collector, and that could make your coin worth a lot more money. So, why is the 1979 Washington quarter so valuable? It's all about rarity, condition, and any unique minting errors. While millions of these quarters were minted, only a small percentage were carefully stored or remained in pristine condition. Even fewer will have minting errors, which makes them exceptionally rare and valuable. When you combine those factors, you have the perfect recipe for a coin that could be worth thousands. If you have a 1979 Washington quarter in excellent condition, especially if it's a rare minting error, you might be sitting on a small fortune. The value of these coins has steadily increased over the years, and depending on the coin's condition and unique characteristics, the value can be quite impressive. And now, for the big reveal: a 1979 Washington quarter in uncirculated condition, or with a rare minting error, could be worth as much as $95,000. Yes, you read that correctly, $95,000. That's a staggering amount for a coin that might just look like any other quarter. But when you take into account the rarity and high demand from collectors, it's easy to see why the 1979 Washington quarter can command such a high price. If you think you might have a valuable 1979 Washington quarter in your collection, don't hesitate to have it professionally graded. A certified coin grading service will evaluate its condition, verify any minting errors, and give you an accurate estimate of its market value. Professional grading can give you peace of mind and help you determine just how much your coin might be worth. So, what should you do with your 1979 Washington quarter? If it's in great condition or has a minting error, you could consider selling it to a collector who is willing to pay top dollar for a coin like yours. If you're just getting started in coin collecting, or if you've been collecting for years, this could be a great opportunity to add a valuable piece to your collection. Now, we're diving into the exciting world of coin collecting, where seemingly ordinary coins can turn into valuable treasures. Have you ever wondered if a simple Washington quarter could be worth a lot more than just 25 cents? Well, today we're talking about the 1991 D Washington quarter, a coin that might just be hiding a fortune in your collection. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter, first introduced in 1932 to honor the first President of the United States, George Washington, has been a staple in American currency for decades. For most of us, these quarters are just a part of our everyday change. But, what if I told you that some years of these quarters, particularly the 1991 D, are worth far more than you might think? The 1991 Washington quarter, like all quarters in the modern era, was minted in copper nickel clad, which replaced the earlier silver quarters. These quarters were produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with the D mint mark on the 1991 quarter indicating that it was minted in Denver. While millions of these coins were struck and distributed across the country, there's something about the 1991 D Washington quarter that makes it stand out in the world of coin collecting. First and foremost, condition is key when it comes to determining the value of any coin. Like any other circulating coin, most 1991 D quarters saw heavy use. Coins that are regularly spent, used in vending machines, or passed through hundreds of hands over the years are typically worn, scratched, and faded. This wear and tear means that those coins will be worth little more than their face value. However, the real treasure lies in coins that have been well preserved and have managed to survive the wear of everyday circulation. Uncirculated coins, which are coins that have not been used in transactions and have maintained their original mint condition, are highly sought after. A 1991 D Washington quarter that is in mint condition, shiny, crisp, and flawless, has a significantly higher value than one that's been circulating for years. These coins have remained pristine, and their sharp details make them much more valuable to collectors, but let's not stop there. In the world of numismatics, coins with mint errors are even more prized. Mint errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process, resulting in unique and sometimes fascinating anomalies. These errors could include things like double strikes, off-center designs, or incorrect dies. If you happen to have a 1991 D Washington quarter with a minting error, you could be holding onto a rare find that could dramatically increase the coin's worth. Now, let's talk about what makes the 1991 D Washington quarter so intriguing in particular. This coin is often sought after by collectors because of its relative rarity in high grades. While millions of 1991 D quarters were minted, finding one in uncirculated or gem condition is no easy feat. This is why the 1991 D is a highly collectible coin. Its scarcity in mint condition makes it a hot commodity among coin collectors and investors. When you take into account the rarity of a pristine 1991 D quarter and the potential for minting errors, the value of this coin can soar. It's not just about the coin's face value, it's about its condition, its rarity, and the unique characteristics that make it stand out. A quarter in perfect condition, with sharp details and no signs of wear, could fetch thousands of dollars at auction. And if you happen to have a 1991 D Washington quarter with a minting error, that could send the value even higher. You might be wondering, what's the actual value of this coin? If you have a 1991 D Washington quarter in excellent, uncirculated condition, or even better, one with a rare minting error, you could be looking at a coin worth far more than you ever imagined. In fact, the value of the 1991 D Washington quarter in top condition has been known to reach as high as $60,000. That's right, $60,000 for a single quarter. For something that's typically worth just 25 cents, that's quite a jump in value, and it goes to show just how important condition and rarity are in the world of coin collecting. So, if you happen to have a 1991 D Washington quarter sitting in your collection or stashed away in a drawer, it might be time to take a closer look. Look for those telltale signs of wear and determine whether your coin is uncirculated or has any minting errors. If it's in excellent condition, or if it happens to have a rare error, it could be worth a lot more than you think. To get an accurate value for your coin, it's always a good idea to have it professionally graded by a certified coin grading service. These experts can evaluate the condition of your coin, check for any errors, and provide a precise valuation based on the current market. A professional grade can help you determine if you have a true gem on your hands. As always, it's important to remember that coin values can fluctuate over time, but one thing is for sure, the 1991 D Washington quarter is a coin that holds the potential for big returns, especially if you have one that's been well preserved or has a minting error. Who knew that a coin that was produced in the millions could be worth so much? Last unique coin, we're diving into the world of one of the most famous coins in American history, the Washington quarter. Specifically, we're going to talk about the 1973 Washington quarter. While these quarters might seem like just another regular coin you'll find in your pocket change, there's more to the 1973 Washington quarter than meets the eye. You might be sitting on a valuable coin without even realizing it, so let's take a closer look at what makes this quarter worth far more than just 25 cents. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Since then, it has become a staple in U.S. currency, with the iconic image of George Washington on the obverse, front, of the coin. The reverse side typically features an eagle, a symbol of the United States' strength and freedom. This design remained largely unchanged until 1999, when the 50-state quarters program began. But let's focus on the 1973 version, minted in both Philadelphia and Denver. By 1973, the Washington quarter was made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, which replaced the earlier silver content. While this change in composition made the coin more affordable to produce, it also meant that many of the quarters from this period aren't made of precious metals, so why would a 1973 Washington quarter be valuable? The answer lies in its rarity, condition, and the potential for minting errors. First, let's talk about the sheer number of 1973 Washington quarters that were produced. It's no secret that millions of quarters are minted each year, and the 1973 coins were no different. However, the true value of any coin comes from how well it's been preserved. Over the years, many of these quarters have circulated through daily transactions, causing them to wear down and lose their mint luster. Coins that were used extensively in vending machines, parking meters, and everyday purchases have often become worn and damaged. This is where the value comes in. The 1973 Washington quarter's value skyrockets when it's found in uncirculated or gem condition. An uncirculated coin means that it hasn't been used in regular circulation and has remained in mint condition, maintaining its sharp details and original shine. These coins are relatively rare because not many of them were kept in pristine condition over the years. In fact, many collectors specifically seek out these coins because of their beautiful, well-preserved appearance. A 1973 quarter that has been carefully stored and is free from wear and scratches can fetch a higher price than you might expect, but it doesn't stop there. Coins that have minting errors are some of the most valuable in the coin collecting world. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process, which leads to anomalies like double strikes, off-center designs, or other unique features. These errors make a coin stand out from the rest, and collectors love them for their rarity and distinctiveness. If you happen to own a 1973 Washington quarter with a minting error, that could significantly increase its value, as these errors are highly sought after in the numismatic world. Now, let's focus on why the 1973 Washington quarter specifically has such a strong appeal in the collecting world. Many coin collectors look for coins from certain years that are harder to find in perfect condition, and 1973 is one of those years. While it's not as widely known as some of the other years, the 1973 quarter is gaining recognition for its increasing rarity in top-tier grades. Coins that have been graded as gem or MS-65 and higher are particularly desirable to collectors. So, how much could a 1973 Washington quarter be worth? If you have a coin from this year that's in mint condition, or perhaps one with an intriguing minting error, you could be looking at a value far above face value. In fact, if your 1973 Washington quarter is in excellent condition and graded well, it could be worth up to $75,000. Yes, you heard that right, $75,000 for a quarter. That's the kind of value that might seem hard to believe for a coin that is so common in circulation, but remember, coin collecting is all about rarity and condition. A coin that has remained in perfect condition over the years, or one with an intriguing minting error, can demand a significant price from collectors who are looking to add unique pieces to their collections. So, if you happen to come across a 1973 Washington quarter, don't just toss it aside. Take the time to carefully examine its condition. Does it show signs of wear, or is it still looking sharp with minimal scratches or marks? If it's in great shape, or if you spot a potential minting error, you could be holding on to a valuable piece of history. And if you're lucky enough to own one in near-perfect condition, it could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Before you get too excited, make sure to get your coin professionally graded by a certified numismatic expert. A professional grading service will carefully assess the coin's condition, check for any potential errors, and assign it a grade that will help determine its value on the market. This step is essential if you're hoping to sell your coin for top dollar, as collectors and dealers always rely on certified grades when buying or selling coins. In conclusion, the 1973 Washington quarter may seem like just another quarter from the 70s, but in the right condition, it could be worth a fortune. Whether you've been holding on to one for years or just discovered it in your change jar, this coin could be worth $75,000. So, take a closer look at your collection and start examining your coins carefully. You never know, you could be sitting on a valuable treasure. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's deep dive into the 1973 Washington quarter, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more coin collecting tips, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss another exciting discovery. Happy collecting, and who knows what coin treasures await you next.